Well, it's a pleasure to be joined here on MASN All Access by longtime Norfolk Tides broadcaster Pete Michaud. Pete, thanks so much for taking some time. How's the start to the season been for you?
Well, it's always great to get rolling after a long off season and get back into baseball and get to know some new guys and reacclimate myself with some of the guys that have been here for a couple of years. So great to be rolling right now. We're on the road in Omaha for the first time ever this week. So baseball pretty much every day. It's wonderful.
It's every day, right? That's the beauty of it. And speaking of new guys, there's a new man at the helm for Norfolk this year after a lot of years of Buck Britton. Tell me about what you've seen from him and how he's adapting to joining a new organization here in Baltimore.
Well, I'm slowly getting to know Tim, having been in Toledo last year. He was a AAA manager in Tacoma a couple of years ago. Tim's kind of in the same boat that I am, and that nobody can figure out how to say his name. It is actually Tim Federowicz. So we actually went through a couple of different pronunciations with Tim to begin the year, but it is Tim Federowicz. So hopefully Oriole fans throughout the organization are going to get to know that here in the weeks and months ahead. Tim is a lot, almost surprisingly so, like Buck Britton. Obviously, they're almost the same age. I think Buck is only a couple of months older than Tim, both in that 37, 38-year-old bracket. They relate to young players very well. An interesting little story. I'm standing around the batting cage yesterday during BP, and Tim is talking with Emmanuel Rivera and Levon Soto, and they're talking about video games. And I had no clue what they were discussing, the names of these games, and how they play them. And I'm thinking, I'm so much older than these guys. It's an entirely different world, but that gives Tim a definite benefit, that he is not all that much older than them. He relates to them, what they do, what they like, what they listen to, what they watch on TV. He seems to be a fairly laid-back manager. Buck was the same way, not a yeller and a screamer. Tim works from the dugout, gives him an opportunity to deal with guys during the games, which Buck didn't do. He liked to coach third base. So, a lot of similarities between what we had with Buck for 4 years and now Tim coming in this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's a key for managers, right? It's not always the X's and O's, but sometimes it's just relating to the guys and being a voice that they can talk to in the clubhouse. And Tim is joining an organization that has talent up and down the minor leagues, and AAA Norfolk is no different. Another year here with some of the top prospects in the game, Coby Mayo and Samuel Basallo. Basallo, of course, unfortunately on the injured list at this point, but Mayo has been outstanding as of late. Got off to a bit of a slow start, though. What did you see to begin the season for Coby Mayo, and what has he done since to really turn things around?
Yeah, it's just my opinion, but obviously what we saw from Coby a year ago, leading the club with 22 home runs, being named the top major league prospect in the International League at the end of the season. Everybody knows who Coby Mayo is now. He's a number 12 or 13 ranked prospect in all of baseball, depending upon what survey you're looking at. And opposing pitchers are well aware of what he can do with his raw power. So Coby was not getting a lot to hit early in the season, not seeing very many fastballs. If he did, they were low and away or up and in, a lot of change-ups, a lot of off-speed stuff, a lot of breaking balls. And I will give Coby credit. He was trying to stay patient, drawing a lot of walks early in the year, but when he did swing the bat, was not hitting the ball terribly well. We know he had a rough spring with Baltimore. He was only hitting in the 100s through the opening couple of weeks of this season. But he has continued to stay patient. He's starting to see better pitches now. And over his last week or so, he's starting to hit the ball really well. Had a great game here a couple of days ago in Omaha with a 3-run home run. Has added about 80 points to his batting average. He's up in the mid-250s right now. So we're starting to see Coby, after a bit of a slow start, really starting to hit his stride, much as he did last year.
Yeah, and it's a punch-counter-punch league, right? Coby Mayo may not see a lot of fastballs at the big league level either, and he's going to have to learn how to adjust to the off-speed stuff and bounce back just as he has here for the Tides. He's not the only big-name prospect on this roster, though. A couple of outfielders that have really moved up throughout the system together in Judd Fabian and Dylan Beavers. Tell me what you've seen from those two guys so far.
Yeah, Judd is a guy with a tremendous raw power. Right-handed hitter, not hitting for the average that he wants right now. He's a little over-aggressive at times. It's still a learning curve for Judd here at this level. But when he gets a hold of one, he's got tremendous power. He's tied for the International League lead in home runs with 5 early on this season. Plays a nice outfield, can play multiple positions out there. I like what I see. Probably going to be a while for him, to really get his feet wet at this level. But again, there's a lot of potential there. And talking about Dylan Beavers, when I watched Dylan, when he moved into the leadoff role a couple of games into the year, my immediate thought was, well, we don't really have a prototype leadoff guy on this club. So, let's put the prospect up there and give him more at-bats. And that line of thinking has proven to be entirely wrong. He is a leadoff man. He doesn't look like it. You tend to think about, the small, speedy guys that slap the ball around, that take a lot of pitches as your typical leadoff guy. Dylan's 6'4". Number one, he runs incredibly well. You look at him and you don't think he's that fast because he's tall and he has the long strides. But he stole, I think it was 30-something bases last year. He is, I think, 6 of 7 on stolen base tries this year. So his speed is very deceptive. He's got good power, obviously, being tall. He's got a long, powerful swing. Not quite as violent as a Coby Mayo, but he's got a lot of power. He will not hesitate to jump on a first pitch. We saw him do that 2 days ago here in Omaha. First pitch of the game, he drove out opposite field for a home run. But he uses all corners of the field because of his speed. He covers a lot of ground in the outfield, so I like him defensively. He's primarily played right field for the Tides. He's shown a pretty good arm. I haven't seen enough of it to tell if it's an above average or great arm yet, but I like what I've seen so far. So those are certainly 2 names that jump out. You bring up among the young prospects coming up this year.
Well, listen, the Orioles are no stranger to big leadoff hitters. Between Jordan Westberg and Gunnar Henderson up at the big leagues, they don't mind that organizational philosophy of just getting your best hitters as many at-bats as possible. But let's flip over to the pitching side of things. And there is one pitcher who has been stealing headlines lately, and that's Brandon Young. He's off to a fantastic start for you guys in AAA. He's also a name that's been tossed around as a potential option in Baltimore's rotation. So what have you seen from Brandon Young so far this year, and what could Baltimore fans be seeing if he does end up getting the call to the bigs?
Yeah, in fact, we can even go back to last year when Mike Elias came right out publicly and said, Brandon Young is on our radar. He's a guy who was undrafted coming out of Louisiana Lafayette. You don't find many guys undrafted that make it to the big leagues. I think it's only a matter of time when he gets his opportunity. Whether he succeeds at it or not, who knows? But he has been outstanding. His first 2 starts this year were lights out. His last appearance last week at home, he ran into a little bit of difficulty. He's still a relatively young guy. What I like about Brandon, he's a little bit of a throwback. You see a lot of pitchers these days who, throw 6, 7 different pitches, and they're relying primarily on changeups or breaking balls. Brandon Young's a guy who it's fastball, fastball, fastball. Probably 50% of the time, he's throwing his fastball. He relies on that. Then he sets up the breaking ball, the change up off of that. So he's maybe a little more modeled after a guy who might have played the game, 20 or 40 or 50 years ago. But as I said, again, his time is coming. He's going to get that chance. And I certainly think he's someone, who could be a 4th or a 5th guy in a big league rotation somewhere. He has that kind of potential. There will be, bumps along the way. You look at, even what happened with, Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Bradish and Dean Kramer and those guys. It took them a while to kind of find their footing at the big league level. So I'm not expecting Brandon to go up and, just dominate early. But, he's got stuff, and I think he can fit in.
Yeah, Brandon Young could be a number 4, number 5 starter, and that time could be coming sooner rather than later. But, Pete, we appreciate the excellent insight. We look forward to keeping up with Tides games all season long.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Anytime. Thanks so much.